AEW talent pay an emotional tribute to the Stinger. AEW got Martha Hart's blessing for Sting's Dynamite entrance this past Wednesday. There's a backstage update on William Regal's WWE status, and a major free agent signs with TNA Wrestling. Hello and welcome to the Solo Sunday News here at What Culture Wrestling. Myself, Andrew Pollard. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. Apologies first and foremost for the mildly raspy voice. That's what you get when you sit outside in the cold and the rain watching the football, but come on the town. Fantastic win. Right, wrestling talk. And Sting, of course, is set to retire later today at AEW Revolution. It's Sting and Darby Allin defending the AEW tag team titles against the Young Bucks in the final match of an iconic career, a legendary career, a genuine trailblazer, one of the all-time greats. Sting, man. It's gonna be emotional, and what was emotional, in case you didn't see it in the week, was Darby Allin wrote a fantastic piece for the Players Tribune. If you've not seen it, go and check it out. Just basically paying his respects to Sting and also to Steve Borden, the man himself, the man behind the paint. Now, following on from that, the Players Tribune have got together with certain other AEW talents and with some of Sting's family to essentially get those people to call in and leave a voicemail to pay their respects to Sting, and it's brilliant. There's a clipped montage version doing around on Twitter, which is about 6 minutes, and there is no better way to spend 6 minutes of your morning than going and checking that out. It's brilliant. It's again, it's quite emotional. And also the Players Tribune website does have the full calls from each person as well, so they're kind of 2 or 3 minutes apiece. You've got Arn Anderson, Dustin Rhodes, Tony Schiavone, FTR, Britt Baker, Eddie Kingston, Billy Gunn, Max Caster, Sting's sons, his daughter, his daughter-in-law, his sister. It's properly heartwarming way to spend 6 minutes of your day on this montage, or you can go out your way and listen to each of the calls individually. That is at the Players Tribune website, and I would absolutely recommend going and checking that out. Just reflecting back on one of the greatest of all time. And you realize, you look back, I mean, for me, I first came across Sting as Surfer Sting in kind of early 90s WCW. Just great, fantastic. But you look back and kind of go through who he's for. It's like literally a who's who of professional wrestling have shared the ring with Sting, whether that's going against him or even teaming. You've got obviously Ric Flair, the Horseman, Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes, Terry Funk, Antonio Inoki, the Great Muta, Nikita Koloff, the Road Warriors, Bruno Sammartino. Yes, he was a special referee for one of the Sting matches. Jerry Lawler, the Steiners, Akira Toei, Big Van Vader, Tatsumi Fujinami, Stan Hansen, Ravishing Rick Rude, Mick Foley as Cactus Jack, who absolutely terrified me back then. Stunning Steve Austin, Lex Luger, of course, Hogan, Savage, Nash, Roddy Piper, Goldberg, Booker T, Bret Hart, DDP, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Triple H, John Cena, Seth Rollins, MJF, CM Punk, FTR, Shingo Takagi, Chris Jericho, Naomichi Marufuji, Tetsuya Naito, Minoru Suzuki, yes, Murder Grandpa gets in there too, Orange Cassidy, Jay White, Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, Ricky Starks. You get the picture. Just to look at that collection of names and how much, just the span of that from, say, Harley Race to Orange Cassidy, it's crazy. It's crazy. Nick Wayne, again, that's another one. But yes, just what a career. But in terms of Sting as well, this past Wednesday saw him drop from the rafters on Dynamite, which is something he's not done for many, many, many years. 2007, I believe, was the last time he did that. Now, Fightful Select has a report that Tony Khan actually reached out to Martha Hart before Dynamite, to get her thoughts on this spot before going through the entrance. The two confirmed on the matter, and Martha gave her full blessing for Sting to go ahead and have that entrance. Now, of course, Martha's husband, Owen, tragically passed away Over the Edge back in 1999, doing a similar entrance that went tragically wrong, resulting in Owen falling to his death. Horrible. And so Tony reached out to Martha, by all accounts, and just kind of gave her the heads up on what they were planning to do and whether she'd be okay with it. And she, as mentioned, this report says, gave her blessing. Now, this is an entrance that Sting has done many times over the years. As part of his transformation from Surfer Sting to the Crow Sting, Sting would regularly come down from the rafters. And there's even a clip I saw. It's really cool today this sounds really weird to say. It's really cool today on social media, because most days it's not, let's face it. But just there's so much cool Sting stuff out there today. And one clip I'd not seen in ages is him actually going back up to the rafters with DDP attached to him. And it's just like, how this, just crazy to see. So Sting used to do that time and time again in the 90s. The last time he did that sort of entrance, though, was 2007 TNA Slammiversary. the last time before that was a 2000 in WCW. So it's something that's not been done for a long, long time. And of course, it got a massive pop on Wednesday with Sting coming down from the rafters to close out Dynamite and attack the Young Bucks. Just Sting, man. There's a whole lot of Sting love today, and I am absolutely here for all of it. Now, somebody who is not here for all of it in AEW, because they're back in WWE, of course, is William Regal. And we saw him pop up back on NXT TV towards the end of January on an episode of NXT TV, of course, where he was briefly there, came out of Shawn Michaels' office and announced that Ava Raine, or just Ava, I think she's just going by now, is the new general manager of NXT. So some people have been thinking then, does that mean Regal's going to be back to being a regular TV presence in NXT? If you're one of those people, you're going to be disappointed by the looks of it, because Corey Brennan over at Fightful Select reports that as of this past week's NXT tapings, there are zero plans to use Regal on TV in any sort of regular full-time role. So yeah, that looks like it was just a fleeting one-off. Instead, Regal is going to be focusing on his VP position, which is Vice President of Global Talent. I've got it written down somewhere here. Vice President of Global Talent Development, which basically involves him working on matches with people, critiquing matches by all accounts. So Regal's going to be focusing on that. Isn't really going to be on TV, which is a shame, but just having Regal back in the fold in that system is kind of cool to see, especially, of course, because his son is in the NXT system these days. That'd be Charlie Dempsey. And that was part of the reason he gave for wanting to leave AEW, because Regal was released by WWE in January of 2022, would turn up in March in AEW, and then kind of pretty much immediately put together what would become the Blackpool Combat Club. And then by the end of the year, requested to be let go by the company, or there was mixed reports of whether he requested his release or whether he just requested his contract to not be extended. I think it was more the latter. Either way, by the turn of 2023, Regal was back in the company, in WWE that would be, on the basis that he would not be able to appear on television for a year. That year obviously came up, and that's when he appeared with Ava Raine back in January. But yes, it looks like Regal is just going to be working away, tinkering away behind the scenes, and not a regular TV presence, which, William Regal, what a man, the gentleman villain. Had the pleasure of spending some time with him during that time he was with AEW, actually. Got to host a little convention panel with him, just the absolute nicest dude. Anyway, another dude who seems to be very, very nice. I feel like we're going on a Danhausen tangent then. It's not Danhausen. He is very nice. He's very evil. No, it's Alexander Hammerstone. Yes, old Hammer is now officially with TNA Wrestling. Now, to me, Hammerstone was one of the biggest free agents on the scene. Yes, there's obviously a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype about Will Ospreay in his future, about Kazuchika Okada, about Mercedes Moné, about Julia, and several other people. And for me, Alex Hammerstone was just like, that's a beast. Somebody needs to sign that guy. And TNA is the company that has signed that guy. Now, previously, there were reports that both WWE and AEW had some interest in Hammerstone, who departed MLW at the turn of the year when his contract went out. But it's TNA who have landed him. And for me, this is just a really, really, really good get. Now, the signing was announced on the most recent episode of TNA Impact TV. And then that was followed up by a press statement, which I picked up this morning in my email inbox, because, hey, I have Saturdays off. So go and watch the football, isn't it? But yeah, Hammer is officially with TNA. And not just that, he's going to be rematching with Josh Alexander this coming Friday at TNA Sacrifice, which that should be great. Those two had a brilliant match back at Hard to Kill in January, which was that was kind of Hammer appeared there. It's like, oh, is he going to sign? And then there were reports last week that he was booked for Sacrifice, but obviously wasn't signed. And now we know that Alexander Hammerstone is indeed with TNA Wrestling. And like I said, it's just a really smart get. I remember the first time seeing Hammerstone was in MLW back in 2019 when it was on, I can't even remember what channel it was over here in the UK. Oh, was it like Fight Network? I don't know. It was on one of the really random channels that are really high up. That was just, flicking through, like, check out this MLW stuff, see what this is about. And it was the Dynasty, which is Hammerstone, MJF, Richard Holiday. Richard Holiday, another extremely good free agent with a massive upside. And it was just like the Dynasty, and they were embroiled in a feud with basically the Hart Foundation, the Hart family. What name were they going by? It was David Boy Smith Jr., it was Brian Pillman Jr., and it was Teddy Hart. And then from there, Hammerstone just kind of broke out as a single star, became the MLW World Champion, defeating Jacob Fatu, who had a record-setting reign of 800 odd days. And then Hammer, I think he had like 500 or 600 days before he lost it to Alex Shane, which was last June. So yeah, Hammerstone is just somebody not to be slept on. And for me, I think TNA have got a really, really good signing there. Somebody that you can pretty much plug in straight at the top of the card if you want. A lot of talent with Alexander Alexander Hammerstone. That's easy for me to say when I've had 3 black coffees this morning. Now, moving over to some questions to get this wrapped up. Where are we? See which of you have been in touch on the Twitter. I can see there's quite a few Sting questions, which is always good by me. Mark Lee Willis got in touch. Hey, Mark. I hope you're well. With the Icons' last match happening tonight, if you have any, what is your favorite piece of Sting merchandise? In the late 2000s, I managed to purchase one of the 12-inch collectible TNA Sting figures alongside the AJ Styles one. Fantastic. Well, because I'm a very serious, sensible, grown adult, if I just reach over here, there is, there we go, little Great American Bash Stinger, Silver Sting. So that's probably my best piece of Sting merch these days. I do have somewhere the old, from the early 90s, WCW comics. So I have those somewhere, and obviously there was a lot of Sting in that. There was a lot of Cactus Jack, there was a lot of Rick Rude. It was Ron Simmons as well. It was that sort of period. And the Black Scorpion. It was a very cool time. So I've still got a bunch of them somewhere, but that's not exactly Sting merchandise per se. I did have some of the Sting figures from that kind of time. There was, because for some reason it was like kind of easy to get hold of over here. WCW figures from like the turn of the 90s. But it was, I think it was like Barry Windham, Sting, Luger, Flair, maybe the Steiners as well. But yeah, no, so I'm going to go with, as he's right here, I'm going to go with this Great American Bash Stinger as my favorite piece of Sting merch. And just randomly, because he's here as well, there's the Macho King. Because again, very serious, sensible, grown adult. And also undisputed champion Chris Jericho. There we go. And there's a few others, which I'm going to move on to the next question because I need to get this wrapped up, because I have to go and do a video review about a certain video game that is embargoed till tomorrow. So that's something to keep an eye on. Right, Dustin Sensenegger's got in touch. If Sting loses tonight, will he do so clean? Or will Ric Flair play a part? Oh, that is quite the question, Dustin. So many questions within that, to be fair, because are you going to have Sting? Is Sting going to do the honors on the way out? Do you want Sting to lose on the way out? Is Sting going to push to lose on the way out, like, traditionally would happen in the business? If so, is it a screwy finish? Then is it because Ric Flair turns on him for the millionth time? I'd like to see if Ric Flair was to try and screw over Sting, that finally Sting is wise to it, because Sting, man, I love you, brother, but he's like, for so long, the Stinger has like so many times over the years trusted Ric Flair just to be screwed over by Ric Flair every single time. So yeah, but I don't really want to see Sting lose clean either. So to me, I don't want Sting to lose. I think Sting retires off into the sunset with those titles still around his and Darby Allin's waist. So yeah, I just minimal Ric Flair for me, please. That's all I'm asking. Hector Garcia the third's got in touch. Hey, Hector. A non-Sting question. I see Damian Priest as an upper-tier mid-carder like he is now and not a main eventer. Feels like the second Money in the Bank winner in a row that won't really be elevated. Who do you see as the next winner that can get to the next level? My pick would be Braun Breaker. Damian Priest, I see what you mean. He's in that kind of... He's in that mid-card spot, but he's dabbling a little bit in the main event. But I think with Damian Priest, I think he's fine. I think you can easily make him into a main eventer just by how he cashes in that briefcase. Now, for me, originally, when it was going to be Punk and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania Night 1, I was thinking, if it was down to me, I'd end that night by whoever wins that, they get cashed in on straight away by Damian Priest, and immediately you have the visual of Damian Priest closing out a night of WrestleMania. And that in itself, I think, would cement him. Now, as it looks now, we're going to be getting the Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth match on night 1. And obviously, it's going to be Cody versus Roman closing out night 2. So, I mean, you could easily have Damian Priest cash in the middle of the card or the opening match, wherever that World Heavyweight title match goes. But it doesn't have that, I don't know, the big feel to it as closing out WrestleMania, even if it's just one night 1, with that visual of Damian Priest with the World Heavyweight title. Now, the story, though, I think that you can easily tell, and it could be great, and it would give Drew McIntyre even more fuel, is that McIntyre beats Rollins and then immediately gets cashed in on by Damian Priest. And then you've got Drew, who... part of his story, God, these stories, man. But part of Drew's ongoing story is his big WrestleMania moment was it was there, but it was taken away from him because it was in an empty arena. And then when he had his match with Bobby Lashley, when there were fans back, he lost. So Drew's chasing his big WrestleMania moment. So if he finally gets it in a packed capacity stadium, beats Seth Rollins, who's been on a great run himself. So you're ending a great run, you get your moment, and then it's cashed in on straight away, and there we go. I think that gives Drew even more momentum. So I think, yeah, for Damian Priest, I think he's fine. He's fine. There's nothing to be worried about with Damian Priest. As for the next part of the question, what was it? Who do you see as the next winner? Then get to a top level. Anybody, if you use them right, anybody, you could literally take, I don't know, Akira Tozawa if you really wanted to, and if you do things correctly, you can make them into a viable threat. Depending on how things go, I think Sami Zayn could be a shout, because I just, again, taking Damian Priest out of things, but I'd like to see Drew win the belt, and then eventually it's Sami goes after him with defeats of the belt, and maybe you get to that by Sami winning Money in the Bank, and calling his shot, as it were. So maybe Sami Zayn, but Braun Breaker would be a great fit, depending on how much of a rocket you want to put on him, how quickly, if that makes sense. Right, I'm going to get through these last ones quickly, which I always say and never do. Rob Atkinson's got a touch. If Sting and Darby win tonight, how would you go about dealing with the titles? Well, I think there's only one way to do it, and it's something that I've moaned lots about, and lots of people moan at me for moaning about it, but I'm sure it will be another tournament, and I don't need to see more tournaments, but if Sting and Darby win, that would seem the natural way to do it. Unless you use the Young Bucks as heels to basically, with their EVP status, to say, well, okay, on Dynamite, say next week, it's like, well, we're just going to make ourselves tag champions because we have the power. So I guess you could do something like that, but I fear it will be another tournament. But the tournament would make sense. But then there's the whole thing of like, why put the titles on Darby and Sting when you knew it wasn't going to be such a long run and they were going to be vacant? But it's all, it's Sting's final match, so it's a one-off in this sense. But just tournaments everywhere, man. Tournaments as far as the eye can see. Right, where are we? Jared Ralphie Allen, where would you book Thunder Rosa currently? I'd love a program with Serena Deeb. Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb, two of my absolute favorites. Serena Deeb, just, man, the professor, the whole, just, I think it was Michael Hamflett, shout out to Hamflett, who made this comparison that basically she's kind of like a modern day Bret Hart in terms of like the excellence of execution, because she's just so smooth and so crisp with everything she does. And Thunder Rosa is just absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, those two have done war before. I mean, Serena Deeb was the one to dethrone Thunder Rosa as the NWA Women's Champion back in the day. And then was it Double or Nothing 2022? They had a pay-per-view match. There was definitely a pay-per-view match along the way as well. But I'd absolutely love for those two to be cracking skulls again once more. Although I do feel that Serena Deeb maybe is going to be geared up as the first opponent for Mercedes Moné as and when she arrives in AEW. But yeah, man, Rosa and Serena Deeb is all fine by me. Santasaurus Jr., who's the true Uncle Paul, Levesque or Heyman? It's Paul Heyman. Rico Reds has got in touch. If you could take any two wrestlers, past or present, and swap their gimmicks, who would you choose? For some reason, my mind went to Billy Gunn. I don't know why. Maybe Billy Gunn and Triple H. Make Triple H Mr. Ass and Billy Gunn as Cerebral Assassin. I think another one that comes to mind is maybe Marty Jannetty swaps with Shawn Michaels. Marty Jannetty becomes the Heartbreak Kid, and we see where things go from there. Although, to be fair, Marty Jannetty is more of a natural babyface, but so was Shawn until the turn. I mean, obviously, he'd been edging towards a heel turn before the actual breakup at the barbershop. But yeah, maybe just for giggles, I'd go Marty Jannetty as the Heartbreak Kid. Last question here, Ashley, and it's a fantastic one to end it on. What's your favorite Sting era? If it's not quite this, it's maybe a year or two after this. It's probably around about 1992 Sting. It was the wars with Vader, the matches with Rick Rude. That's my favorite Sting. That was a Sting that I would get up for on. I'm trying to remember whether it was like Monday nights or Sunday nights. Like basically, it was really early in the morning, at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and it was on ITV here in the UK, Channel 3, and they would have WCW Worldwide, I think it would have been. And I kind of set my alarm to get up at like silly o'clock, go downstairs. It was manual VCRs where you had to like hit record for it to record, showing my age there. And I just do that and watch WCW, and part of that was getting to see Sting. Part of that was getting to see people like Two Coat Scorpio as well. Jushin Thunder Liger, when he came in, just blew my mind, those matches with Pillman. But yeah, so that sort of era Sting, the Cactus Jack feud, that, like I said before, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley absolutely terrified me in that rivalry, as did Vader. Oh man, Vader and Sting, they had just what wars they had back then. It just, yeah. The White Castle of Fear match being one that instantly jumps out. I think it was a trilogy they had in the end. Was it just 2? But yeah, just that era of Sting is my Sting. Now, let me know what your Stings are in the comments, because everybody has a love for Sting today. Please do. There's nothing to. It's just one of the, by all accounts, the nicest people in professional wrestling history. somebody that nobody has a bad word to say about. I did get to spend a little bit of time with him as well, briefly, again with the convention panel, and was just like the loveliest fella to deal with. And this was after his retirement from WWE, and just a really humble, nice fella. So yes, lots of love for the Stinger today, and that's a great way to wrap things up. I have been Andrew Ballard in the What Culture Wrestling Solo Sunday News. The regular lads will be back tomorrow. I'll be back next Sunday. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day.